You've interviewed how many Mafia people of that life?
I don't know. Anybody that I could, I have.
Yeah. Where did this interest come up in your life? That obviously a kid from Iran, you weren't watching the Godfather.
No, but you did though.
Oh, did you?
I mean, Godfather in Iran was like everybody watched the Godfather.
Wow, even in Iran.
In Farsi.
Okay. Oh, in Farsi.
Farsi. Yeah, that's
so. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So no, we grew up watching that. We grew up watching all of that, and then, Bronx Tale, Carlito's Way, Scarface. You add all of them up. Any one of them. Goodfellas, Casino. There's a level of curiosity. What's happening because everything in business and in the mob, it's very, very similar. The only difference is if you cut somebody, they don't kill you. They may terminate your contract. They may, no longer do business with you. They may do whatever they can to put you out of business, which is a form of a lawsuit, but they're not going to come and kill you, right? But everything else is very similar.
Well, you heard Pat talk at the Vault, about systems, about discipline, about organizational structure. Literally almost nobody did it better.
Culturally, safety, how the level of respect with women, certain code you followed, sisters, daughters. So that created a level of safety if you were in, right? There was a level of safety. So if you create an inner circle in your business, in your company, those who are in it, there's a level of safety. There's a level of additional benefits that comes with that. So that model is ran by a lot of different people in business. So many similarities. And then, Michael and I, there was a Bill McIntosh. We got to give him credit because Bill kept saying, Pat, you got to interview Michael. I'm like, Bill, I'm not doing this. He says, Pat, I'm telling you, interview Michael. For a year and a half, Bill from Peru would follow me, asking me to interview Michael. And I kept saying, no. Finally, we agreed. On my way to Michael's house, I was sitting with Jordan Belfort in Manhattan Beach. I tell Mario, we're late to the next interview. We're supposed to be there at like 4 or 5, 4:30 or something. We show up at 6:30, and they're supposed to go to a church function. So I'm like, these guys. So Mario's, hey, Michael, we're so sorry. They're on their way. I'm dealing with LA traffic. Finally, we get there. An interview that was never supposed to happen. At that time, Michael's, we're I don't know how many subs we had at that time, 500,000, 450,000, some number like that, right? And Michael doesn't have a lot of views online. He's got 500,000 view videos, 300,000 view videos. He's done some stuff. And then we do the interview. We post it. We don't think much of it. Next day, Michael's like, hey, Patrick, can you tell me what's going on? I said, Michael, you're on the cover of World Star. He says, what are you talking about? So the interview goes on World Star, picked up by World Star. Everybody starts contacting us about this interview. It takes off. Now it's got, 12 plus million, about to cross 13 million views. And so that led to the next interview. And I don't know who, I think we did another part too, you and I, in Dallas.
We got well over 20 some odd million views.
Oh, yeah. Listen, now Michael's got stuff that he did with BuzzFeed. He's all over the place. Michael has done Wired, you got everything. Now you got your channel that's about to cross 1 million subs. You guys are crushing it with your crew. Then you guys got there. Then Sammy. We did the interview with Sammy, and Sammy was extremely difficult to get that done. He just didn't want to get on camera. Sammy didn't want to get on camera. He says, you think I'm going to sit with you? I sat with Diane Sawyer in 1994. I'm going to do one of these YouTube things.
Like now you can't get
now he's doing YouTube left and right.
Now you can't get him off.
But talk about that. How you go from being on 2020 to
a YouTuber. How does that happen, Michael?
I don't know. Honestly, it's the sometimes I'm in bed laying down at night and I'm saying, what am I doing with this YouTube?
It's a powerful tool, man.
Right.
Yeah.
It is. Things got real when you said, if you like that, there's another clip over here, and if you like the channel, please subscribe and smash that thumbs up. What are we talking about over
Not
here?
only that, almost every other day I go on YouTube and there's somebody else.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's a whole genre. People go crazy.
We're saturating the
Michael,
internet
it's
now.
really only two people that are, So of course there is a lot, but when it comes down to this genre, it's two people. I know John is thinking about doing. Rumor on the street is John is thinking about doing something.
He is doing something.
Yeah, I know he is.
The Whitsec Mafia he's doing.
But I don't know what angle he's going to take. I don't know how he's got some people on his team that are quality people. We've had a couple conversations with them in the past, not today. When we did the Sammy interview, we had some exchange there. But it's not going to be a camp that's going to have a lot of people there. And Sammy's interviews now got 12 plus million views. So both of them 12. So you got Sammy 12 plus million views, Michael 12 plus million views. He's about to cross 13. Now we have Mafia States of America. So it's not like individuals. So Sammy calls Michael out. Then Michael calls Sammy out. And it went back and forth, nonstop. Like Michael would say something and something. But what are you saying there? What's your point with that? And then Sammy would say something. But Sammy, I disagree with you. And this, like Chaz Palminteri says, Patrick, I don't know if you understand this. This has never happened in a history of a mob. This has never happened. So, and I got a phone call I'll tell you about afterwards, a very interesting phone call that you and I will talk about right after. I was going to bring it up to you yesterday. There was too many people around, but I'll talk to you about it afterwards, what happened.
Sure.
Very strange people have contacted me about this interview because everybody wants to know. And then the trailer. So now people are asking, when is this coming out? You know, we don't have a date yet. You know, we're trying to figure out when we're going to launch it. People want it to come out tomorrow.
People are driving me crazy. Yeah. I'm saying, I don't know.
Yeah.
Speak to Patrick.
Yeah.
It's big. It's bigger than the Mafia genre, though. I mean, this is a history. This is an America that doesn't exist
I think
anymore.
they're going to watch this 100 years from now.
They have to.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a time capsule. This is what I got out of this and from the research that we're doing from the project, man, is that this is the story of immigrants making their way in America. You could be the Mafia is identified with Italian Americans, but as we got into it, you talked about Bugsy Siegel, you talked about the Jewish immigrants in the beginning in New York were the ones that taught the other immigrants. We talked about this. Then there was the Irish Westies, and then the but nobody took it to the level the Italians did. I mean, the Russians and the Chinese maybe, but
well, no, I'm going to tell you this. You know, when you talk about Mafia, Cosa Nostra in this country, you got to understand, we survived and prospered for almost 100 years under some difficult conditions. I mean, we always had law enforcement after us. But why? Because we had structure, we had discipline, we had authority, and we had respect among one another. And there were some pretty intelligent guys there. You know, I always say this, you know who made the Mafia in this country, who gave us the biggest advantage?
Prohibition.
The government.
Yeah.
Prohibition.
Because of Prohibition.
Because that's when the money came in. That's when we started getting the money, and you don't do anything without money.
And you were advocates. You were advocates for the people at that point. The people didn't want prohibition.
No,
you were
not.
advocating for the public.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Are there any similarities to today? Prohibition was in the 20s, right? So now it's 100 years later. Are there any comparisons today to what the government is doing to manifest a certain marketplace? Like, is Bitcoin the new prohibition?
It's
like,
a
what's
good
that
question,
correlation?
because I have a Russian friend who says when the government, because we're talking about like government overreach and tyranny and online and everything like that, he was like, it's no problem for Russians. We just go black market. They can do whatever they want. We'll go under.
Russians are very smart, but you know, you don't want to get me started. I'm writing a book.
I want you to get started.
Democracy, Mafia Democracy, because I am telling you that our government today is acting very Machiavellian, just like the ideology that we followed on the street. And the other thing I wanted to say, remember, all these other groups, I mean, you got to give them credit, but, you know, you take the cartels in Mexico, South America, they're built around drugs. You take drugs away, that's it. They got nothing. But we infiltrated every sector of society, from the guy on the street with the numbers business right up to the White House and everything in between.
Wow.
And you know this, Patrick. You control the unions in this country, you control the country. At
Still
least
to today?
Yeah, that's literally what the Democrats are doing.
as much,
Literally right now.
Not today, because they took a lot of the union power away from us. But look, you control the Teamsters. You got 2.5 million truck drivers. You call a strike, the country stops.
Which,
You call a strike at the docks, nothing comes in and out of the
to
country.
his point, what did they just do in Australia to compete against these vaccine mandates? The truckers shut down the roads. They stopped on the bridges. All at the same time. They shut the country down, and within 24 hours, South Wales in Australia went from mandatory vaccinations to non-mandatory to what do they consider? What it was?
And it's legit. You call a strike, it's legit. They can't do anything to stop you until you negotiate and they reach a point of a conclusion. But you have that kind of power. You know, in politicians, you got these huge pension funds. You know, politicians are drawn to money. You know that, Patrick. They're drawn to money. When you control that type of when you have that type of control, you got a lot of authority.
Who has more
country.
power in America than the NEA right now? The
Exactly.
Education Association runs the country.
It's funny. Yesterday I spoke to Captain Dennis Tager, who is the spokesperson for the largest union for pilots in America, 15,000 pilots. It's called APA, Allied Pilots Association, right? and he was talking about the difference between union today versus before. You know how Jimmy Hoffa union before versus today. How different is today's union than before? Has it changed much, or is it still similar kind of influence and power?
Good question.
It's changed a lot because the mob doesn't have the control over it as it did before.
Okay.
You know, and the numbers are down in the unions. Numbers are down, I think. You know, back, you know, in my day, unions were powerful, man. Look, I had.
When you say numbers are down, you mean percentage of American who are part of
Well,
unions?
Yes.
one out of as late as the 1960s, 1 out of every 3 Americans was in a union.
And now I gotta suspect it's less than 10%.
You know,
Well,
What
it's no, because it's 40%, because almost 90% of all government employees are unions. There's almost no private sector unions. They're all public sector now.
Patrick, I had control through a guy by the name of Danny Cunningham. We had the security union, right? We had security at 9 nuclear power plants in the country. Now, in those nuclear power plants, I don't know if you know, at that time, when a nuclear plant closed down, you had to have security there for 100 years.
What?
100 years.
Why?
When it was closed.
Why?
That's what the government said. You got to have security there for 100 years.
Whoa.
So if you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here's another short segment to watch. Or if you want to see the entire podcast, click over here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.